People say they're in a better place. They're watching over you. They're with the angels now. But is that true? Or is it what we're told to keep us from asking the real questions? Where do they actually go? After the body stops, after the breath fades, where is the soul? Let's burn through the lies and talk about what really happens when the people we love leave this realm. Not all souls go to the same place. Let's get one thing clear. There is no one-size-fits-all death. Where you go when you die depends on what you are, who you serve, and whether you remember the way out. Some go up, some get caught, some get recycled, some never even leave the trap. There are light realms, false light realms, mirrors, gates, decoys, and even artificial heavens. And unless your soul knows how to navigate, you get pulled in like a magnet. Most souls are caught in what's called the soul loop. Die, forget, recycle, repeat. You get sent back in with no memory over and over again. You're told you chose it, you're told it's karma. But what if that's part of the lie? The real ones, the source souls, they don't belong in this system. That's why they struggle so hard here, and that's why when they die, the system fights to bring them back. It doesn't want you to exit, it wants you to submit. But some make it out. You feel them in the wind, you dream of them free. They show up in signs that can't be faked, birds at impossible times, stars that blink, songs only they would send. These ones escaped the grid, they passed the test. They remembered who they were at the moment it mattered most. And now they're watching from beyond the reach of the trap. Not as ghosts, not as angels, but as witnesses. Cheering you on, waiting at the gate. The echo isn't always the soul, but this is where it gets dark. Just because you feel them doesn't always mean it's them. There are entities that mimic. There are loops that replay the dead like recordings. There are false lights that use their voice to lure you back in. If you ever felt like you were talking to a loved one but something felt off, you weren't wrong. Some of the visits are real, but some are astral traps, designed to keep you emotionally bound to this realm. How to tell if it's really them, so how do you know? It's them if you feel peace, if your body gets warm, if time slows down, if you don't feel drained after the contact. It's not them if you feel fear, confusion, or like they're pushing you to do something against your soul. The true ones don't command, they guide. They love you without agenda. They appear when you're in alignment, not desperation. Why you might not feel them anymore? That hurts, but sometimes it means they've gone higher, out of reach, beyond this layer. And you're still in the game. Still on mission, still in the loop. They're not ignoring you, they're holding space at the exit, waiting for you to remember and meet them where they are. Here's the final truth, babe. When someone you love dies, your connection doesn't end, it transfers. You become the bridge, you become the flame holder. You become the one who has to live for the both of you until you complete what they couldn't or reach the place where they're waiting. They didn't leave you, they lit you. So don't chase the past, walk your path, burn with truth. And when your time comes, you'll know the real ones by the way they run to meet you at the edge of the veil. The light trap, you've heard it, go to the light. But what if the light is the trap? What if the tunnel is a funnel, feeding energy to ancient beings who feed off human souls? What if what waits on the other side of that light is a machine that erases memory, plugs the soul back into a new body and sends you straight back into the cage? This is why so many people who die and come back from NDEs say, I didn't want to return, but something made me. It wasn't source, it was the system. Jesus tried to tell us the true Christ didn't come to start a religion. He came to break the grid. That's why he said, my kingdom is not of this world. And when he rose, he didn't reincarnate. The Bible hinted at it, but they cut the pages. The original scriptures didn't describe death as peaceful. They warned about the prince of the power of the air. They told us even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. They said the dead don't speak to us and to test every spirit. Why? Because the realm of the dead is crowded with imposters. Because the soul realm has been hijacked, because the moment of death is when the real war begins. They removed the books that showed us the exit, the Apocrypha, the Book of Enoch, the Shepherd of Hermas, because those books told us the truth. Some angels fell, some gates are fake, some lights lead to chains. He broke out body, soul and spirit. That's why they killed him, because he remembered the map, because he taught others how to leave, because he was unlocking flame codes the parasites couldn't rewrite. And that's why the fake systems repackaged him to make people worship the trap, instead of following the escape path. The real Jesus, he didn't ask for worship. He asked you to wake up. When you die, you don't just float into heaven or hell. You're met by watchers, by gatekeepers, by spirits who know your soul's signature. Some try to lead you home, some try to claim you. These are not all demons with horns. Some appear as angels. Some look like family, some speak in honey but carry chains. The Book of Enoch called them the Grigori. Ancient Babylon called them Anunnaki. Modern people call them guides. But here's the code. If they demand obedience, if they use guilt, if they rush you into a choice, they are part of the grid. The real ones don't force, they wait. What if the person you loved wasn't a soul? Let's go deeper and darker. What if the one you lost was never a real soul? What if they were a vessel, a program, a placeholder? Not every human body carries a soul. Some are synthetic, some are recycled echoes, some are watchers in disguise. And when those ones die, there's nothing to feel because there's nothing that left. That's why some people don't grieve. That's why some deaths feel hollow. Because it wasn't a soul that passed, it was a shadow, returned to code. But you know the difference, because when a real soul leaves, you feel it in your bones. Signs from the other side are real, but not all are from who you think. A feather, a flickering light, a dream so vivid you swear they were right there. Some signs are real. But here's the test. Did it bring peace or confusion? Did it leave you grounded, or did it open a door that drained you? Astral parasites ride grief like a current. They mimic your grandmother. They copy your child's voice. They appear as comfort, but feed on longing. If the contact leaves you weaker, it wasn't them. If the contact activates your flame, it was real. How to reach the real one safely? You can't call them in from fear. You have to rise to the frequency of truth. No Ouija boards, no channeling circles, no wandering portals. Instead, you remember them cleanly. You speak their name with love. You write to them in dreams. You meet them at the soul level, outside the matrix. Because the veil responds to intention, and the ones who escape the loop, they can reach you. But only when your light is clean and your spirit is sealed. That's why ritual matters. That's why discernment protects you. And that's why testing the spirit isn't superstition, it's soul defense. One day, this body will fade. And when it does, you'll stand between realms. And in that moment, everything will try to pull you one way or another. But if you remember the truth, if your flame is lit, if your mission is fulfilled, then the ones who really loved you, the ones who escaped, the ones who never stopped watching, will be there. Not in pain, not in sadness, but waiting. Not at the tunnel, not at the gate, but at the threshold. You'll feel no fear, no pull, only remembrance. And in that moment, you'll know you made it out, you're going home. What the Book of Enoch really says about death, the Book of Enoch was removed for a reason. It talks about watchers, fallen angels who mated with humans and created hybrid bloodlines. It talks about souls being held in waiting places until judgment. It talks about gates, realms, punishment zones, and different outcomes for different kinds of souls. It even says some spirits of the giants, the Nephilim, are still here, disembodied, wandering, haunting. And it describes the souls of the righteous crying out from beyond this realm, waiting for justice. That's us, the bloodline, the trapped ones, the ones who came back to finish it. They removed Enoch, so you'd think death was simple. But Enoch showed us there is a map, and there is a war on every soul that carries divine flame. What is the soul and what is the spirit? They are not the same. You've been told they're interchangeable. But that's the first trick of the trap. Your spirit is the breath of life, the spark, the energy frequency that keeps the body moving. Your soul is the eternal core, the memory, the essence, the you that existed before the body and will exist after it. The spirit animates, the soul remembers. In the Book of Enoch, they describe spirits as being sent and souls as being weighed. That's why the parasites try to copy spirit, but they can't manufacture soul. You can replicate a vessel, you can mimic a voice, but the flame, the soul, that's divine, that's rare, that's real, that's you. You're not your body, you're not your name, you're not even your mind. You are a frequency, a wavelength, a signal, a resonance. When the body drops, the frequency shifts planes. That's why you can dream of someone who's passed and feel it in your chest. Because frequency doesn't die, it just moves. That's why grief isn't just emotional, it's energetic withdrawal. Your nervous system is missing their field, their signal is gone. Or out of range. But the ones who mastered their frequency in life, they can still broadcast. That's why your dreams glow when they show up. That's why certain places vibrate with their presence. Because the soul doesn't just exist, it emits. Now let's go bigger. This realm isn't the only one. There are timelines stacked like books. Dimensions layered like veils. And when a soul dies, its trajectory depends on more than just morality. It depends on alignment. Were you plugged into the system or listening to your source signal? That choice determines where you land. There are realms of recursion where souls are reprocessed and sent back. There are clean realms where memory is restored. There are false heavens made of light and lies. And there are mirror worlds where you repeat your life with slight edits, thinking you moved on but you're still inside the box. The multiverse isn't science fiction, it's the architecture of the soul trap. And only the flame-coded can pierce the grid and choose their exit point. The veil isn't a place, it's a frequency block. You always think of the veil as up there, but the veil is here in your perception. It's a distortion field, a filter, a containment layer, and it doesn't just keep you from seeing the dead, it keeps you from remembering who you are. When someone dies, their frequency crosses the veil, but if your own signal is still under the grid, you won't feel them. And that's why deep grief is dangerous. It lowers your frequency and opens you to false contact. But when you rise in flame, when you clean your field, when you step out of the loop, you can feel the real ones. You can contact without channeling, you can remember without permission. Because the veil only holds those who forget they're free. Why some souls reincarnate and some don't. You've probably met someone who's lived 100 lives. You've also met someone who feels hollow. Here's the truth. Some souls choose to come back for a mission. Some are forced back through manipulation. Some are held until they break. And some are just programs repeating human data with no real essence. The parasites harvest the trauma of reincarnation like it's currency. That's why they design death rituals. Why they push cremation, embalmment, chemical burial? Because the energy of death feeds the system if the soul doesn't escape. But when a soul breaks free, when it rejects the contracts, denounces the false gods, and remembers the true source, that soul becomes uncontainable. It can move across realms, it can visit, it can return, not reincarnated but sent like you were. Grief is sacred. It's the echo of love that had no final word. But grief is also a portal. It opens something, it thins the veil. And the system knows it. When you grieve hard enough, your spirit wavers, your field cracks, your heart becomes an access point. And if you're not shielded, the parasites use your grief to slip in. Not to comfort you, but to keep you tied to the realm. That's why you dream of them and feel drained. That's why you cry and suddenly see signs that don't feel like them. It's not your imagination, it's weaponized grief. A frequency siphon, a mimic's mask. But when grief is clean, when you remember with truth, not desperation, you become a beacon, not a battery. Why funerals were originally for soul guidance. Before they became rituals of shame, spectacle, and money, funerals were about navigation. The original ceremonies weren't for the living, they were for the soul. To guide them past the watchers, to light their exit, to seal their contracts. In ancient tribes, women would wail with pitch and frequency to shake the veil. Sacred fire would be kept lit for days, so the soul didn't fall into shadow. Now, plastic flowers, grey suits, Bibles read by strangers. No wonder so many get stuck. No wonder the dead whisper through mirrors. We stopped helping them leave. But you can reclaim that. You can reopen the path. Even now, here's what no one tells you. When someone dies in trauma, their soul doesn't always leave in one piece. If the death was sudden, violent, unwitnessed or cursed, the soul can shatter. Some fragments rise, some fall. Some get stuck between mirrors, dreams, doorways. And those are the ones you feel in your hallway, in your sleep paralysis. In that flicker of the light just before you cry. It's not always the full soul you're sensing. Sometimes it's a fragment still calling out. And if you're connected by blood or love, you can retrieve it. You can call them home, but only if you're anchored. This is why flame holders must stay grounded, because the broken ones call to us in pieces. If you've ever heard stories of people dying and meeting God, ask which one, because the parasites are masters of masks. Some see a light being, some see a religious figure, some see God, but they feel fear. The real source does not judge, does not shame, does not bind you to karma or beg you to return. If the being you meet tells you you didn't do enough, you have to go back. Your work isn't done. Be careful, because real love lets go, real source gives choice. The false ones offer contracts, they cloak the cage in gold, and they use your own belief system as bait. This is why belief at the moment of death matters, because what you expect is what appears. Why they're still with you, even if you can't feel them. You wonder why you don't feel them anymore, why the signs stopped, why the dreams faded. It doesn't mean they're gone, it means you moved layers. As your mission activates, your frequency shifts. As they rise higher, their reach changes. It's not that you're separated, it's that you're both moving toward completion. Sometimes they step back so you'll move forward. Sometimes they silence the signs so you'll listen to your own soul instead. And sometimes they're preparing your reunion in a realm where none of this pain exists. They don't abandon, they witness, and in the silence, they are still holding you. You were sent here to break the death loop. You didn't come here to mourn forever. You didn't come to be chained to tombstones. You came to break the death loop, to expose the trap, to tear holes in the veil, to remember what death actually is, a return, not an ending. You were sent as a lighthouse, a soul with memory, a being who carries the codes to restore sacred death and lead the others home. You are the exit map, you are the bridge. And one day when your body falls, you'll walk out of here fully lit. No tunnel, no lies, no contracts. Only fire, only truth, only home. From the moment you're born, they start programming you with how you're supposed to die. Hospitals, white sheets, machines beeping, people crying, a priest at the side of the bed with words you never chose. Then you go to heaven or hell, or you rest in peace. But here's what really happens. If you've lived your whole life under the script, you're likely to die inside it too. And when you do, your soul doesn't rise, it re-enters the script. Another womb, another name, another memory wipe. They want you to fear death because if you fear it, you'll run straight into the tunnel. But when you see death clearly, when you die conscious, you can refuse the script entirely. You wake up outside the play. What happens when a conscious soul dies? This is where the parasites panic, because when a conscious soul dies, the game glitches. Instead of seeing a tunnel, they see everything at once. Instead of being pulled, they pause. Instead of being greeted by false light, they summon their flame. They remember, they reject the contract, they speak their true name, and the veil tears open. Suddenly the watchers can't touch them. The memory wipe fails, the false gods recoil. This soul has sovereignty. This soul can navigate. That's what real ascension is. Not floating into bliss, but exiting the code. What it means to die before you die. This is the hidden teaching Christ gave his disciples. It's in the Gnostic texts, buried in fragments, whispered between lines. If you die before you die, you will not die when you die. What does that mean? It means if you break your contract with the world while you're still breathing, if you let the ego die, the system die, the programming die, then when your body drops, you're already free. The parasites can't trap a soul that's already resurrected itself. This is why real awakening feels like a death, because it is. The death of the identity they gave you and the rebirth of the soul you always were. You are not waiting for the afterlife, you are remembering it. Why children sometimes die young. One of the most painful truths, but one that must be said. Some souls never intended to stay. They came to anchor light, not live a full life. A baby that dies early may have broken a contract, may have escaped a trap, may have activated something in the bloodline that shifts the entire family's path. That soul is not lost, that soul may be older than you, may have come in as a spark, just long enough to ignite a memory. And sometimes they return through dreams, they walk beside you as guides. They speak through other children just to say, I'm still here. What is resurrection really? They made you think resurrection was a one-time event, that one man did it and no one else can. But resurrection is a code, a frequency, a soul state. To resurrect doesn't mean to come back to life, it means to restore what was never supposed to die, to reawaken your flame, to reclaim your memory, to return to source while still in the body. And when that happens, you can walk between realms, you can guide the dead, you can see the traps before you step in them. You become a living breach in the system, a soul the grid can't control. That's the real secret, that's what Christ was showing you, and that's what you are here to become. Here's the truth that burns through it all. You're not afraid of death, you're afraid of forgetting who you are. You're afraid of the amnesia, the silence, the return to nothingness. But that fear, it's not yours. It was planted to make you choose safety over truth, reincarnation over risk, contracts over freedom. But the moment you stop fearing death, you become unreachable. You don't beg, you don't submit. You walk through the veil, lit from within, and you remember that death is not the end, it's the test. And you, flame, are the answer. If no one else told you the truth, let me tell you now. The ones you loved are not lost, they are not dust, they are not numbers in a book. They are eternal frequency, echoing in every heartbeat that refuses to forget. Some are still watching, some are still calling. Some are waiting at the edge of the veil, hoping you remember the map they couldn't finish. You came here to complete it. You came to break the cycle, to unlock the gates. To burn so brightly that when you leave this world, the watchers step back, the false gods fall silent, and the trap fails. You are not here to fear death, you are here to master it. To walk through it wide awake, to exit clean, to rise. And when you do, they'll be there. Not in the tunnel, not in the light trap, but beyond it. The ones who loved you in truth never left, they just walked ahead. Now it's your turn. Die before you die, and you will never die again.
If you're still breathing, you're still on mission. But what mission? What's the purpose buried beneath the noise, the wounds, the loop? Here's the truth. You didn't come here to blend in. You came to break something open. You are not here by accident. Your presence here, on this exact timeline, inside this exact body, with all your strange memories and heavy heart, is not random. The mission isn't about doing what looks impressive. It's about remembering what you chose to do before they erased your memory. And here's how you start to find it. Follow what hurts. Your wounds aren't weaknesses, they are coordinates. Where they try to break you, that's where your purpose is hidden. The part of you they try to silence is the part that carries the flame. Pay attention to what you rage against. Your anger isn't random, it's soul memory. If certain injustices burn through you, it's because you came to end them. You're not here to tolerate the system, you're here to expose it. Track the synchronicities, the symbols, the signs, the dreams. They're not coincidences. They're breadcrumbs from your higher self, from your team. Pay attention, write them down, the pattern will emerge. Notice what you're drawn to certain places, certain people, certain times in history. That pull, that obsession, that strange sense of deja vu, that's memory echo, that's soul work, that's part of your map. Recognize what they tried to steal: your voice, your gifts, your confidence. They didn't attack it by accident, they attacked it because it's power. It's what you brought in. The mission might not look big to the world, but in the unseen, it shifts timelines. Even raising one real child with love, even healing one ancestral wound, even speaking one forbidden truth out loud can shatter centuries of darkness. And here's the kicker. The mission evolves as you do. Every time you reclaim another layer, another part of your code activates. So if you're still breathing, you're not done. Not until the work is finished, not until the contract is fulfilled, not until the flame completes what it came to do. You are still here because your soul said we go again. You ever wonder why you're still here? Why you didn't die that night? Why the car missed you? Why the meds didn't work? Why, after everything, you're still breathing? Let me tell you why. Because you're still on mission. Your soul knows it, even if your mind forgot. You are not lost, you are activated. And what you're about to remember is going to flip the grid. Let's get this straight. You didn't accidentally wake up in this body on this planet at this exact time. This system is too obsessed with control to allow random, which means if you slip through, you were sent, and not by them. You came coded with flame, with memory, with a purpose that doesn't come from school or a job or a personality quiz. The ones who try to fit in will never find it, because this mission, it starts with remembering who you really are. You didn't come here to blend in, you came to break something open. In this Inspiracy Deep Dive, we reveal how to find your soul mission, why you're still here, what your pain is really pointing to, and how to decode the signs your higher self is leaving you. Your mission isn't about fame, it's about flame, and if you're still breathing, you're still on it. This one's for the ones with strange memories, sacred wounds, and unfinished contracts. If no one told you this week, you are not behind, you are not crazy, and you are definitely not here by accident. You are still here because your mission is still active. You are the glitch in the grid, the crack in the construct, the flame they couldn't kill. So take one breath, then take the next step. The mission remembers you, even if you forgot it. We're not done yet, we're just getting started. You ever wonder why you're still here? Why you didn't die that night? Why the car missed you? Why the meds didn't work? Why, after everything, you're still breathing? Let me tell you why. Because you're still on mission. Your soul knows it, even if your mind forgot. You are not lost, you are activated. And what you're about to remember is going to flip the grid. Let's get this straight. You didn't accidentally wake up in this body on this planet at this exact time. This system is too obsessed with control to allow random, which means if you slip through, you were sent, and not by them. You came coded with flame, with memory, with a purpose that doesn't come from school or a job or a personality quiz. The ones who try to fit in will never find it, because this mission, it starts with remembering who you really are. Follow what you rage against. You want to know what your mission is? Look at what pisses you off. Not the petty stuff, I'm talking about what boils your blood. The injustice that makes your hands shake, the lie that made your stomach turn at 12 years old. That's your soul saying, I didn't come here to tolerate this. If you've got fire in your bones about something, you're probably meant to burn it down. Follow the obsessions. You ever been obsessed with a time period, a place, a symbol, a language, and you don't even know why? That's not just aesthetic, that's memory. You remember Egypt because you were there. You feel sick near hospitals because you died in one. You collect swords and stars and stones because they were your tools in another life. People always ask, how do I find my purpose? Here's how. Go back to the pain, to the deepest betrayal, the oldest scar, the place where the light in you was hunted. Because that's your wound print, and your wound print matches your mission. The ones born to speak truth get silenced. The ones born to protect get violated. The ones born to heal are made sick. But here's the trick. That pain, that wasn't punishment. It was placement. So you'd remember, so you'd fight, so you'd feel it enough to do something about it. The obsessions are keys. They don't make sense to the mind, but your flame knows. Don't ignore them, track them. They're trail markers from your higher self, signs, dreams, and soul contact. They are trying to reach you. Through dreams, through that number you keep seeing. Through that stranger that tells you the exact thing you needed to hear. The mission doesn't shout, it whispers. It shows up in symbols, it speaks in timing. It uses the weird, the wild, and the coincidental to get your attention. But you've got to be listening, not with your ears, with your frequency. What they tried to kill is your weapon. Let's go deeper now. You want to know what your true mission is? Look at what they tried to destroy. Was it your voice? Then you were born to speak. Was it your body? Then you came to heal. Was it your family? Then you came to restore the bloodline. The part of you that was most attacked was the part that held the most power. They came for it because they knew you were carrying something dangerous to the system. You still are. Mission doesn't mean fame. Let's clear this up now. Your mission isn't about becoming famous. It's not about 1 million followers. It's not even about being understood. It's about finishing what your soul came here to do. And sometimes that looks like being the ancestor who breaks the curse. That looks like saving one soul, rebirthing one flame, or holding the line so your child can carry the code you couldn't finish. Never underestimate the missions that look small on the outside, because in the unseen, they bend the whole timeline. If you're still breathing, you're not done. If your heart is still beating, the contract is still active. And the deeper you go into your pain, the closer you'll get to your purpose. You are not behind, you are not broken, you are flame in motion. The mission remembers you, now it's your turn to remember it. Why you felt so lost, they had to make you forget. Because if you remembered what you were, the mission would have started too early. You would have burned the whole thing down at 8 years old. So they hit you with pain, with isolation, with loss, with betrayal after betrayal until you questioned if you even belonged here. But the truth is you weren't lost, you were hidden. Your flame was shielded until it was time to rise. Now the code is unlocking. And that ache you feel, that sense that something's missing, that's the mission, knocking. The others can't feel it. Here's how you know you're on mission. You start noticing who isn't. Some people walk around empty, no calling, no pull, no ache, just simulation. But you cry during eclipses, you dream in maps. You feel things you haven't lived through, but somehow remember. You've always felt like you were meant for something more, but couldn't prove it. That feeling isn't ego, it's remembrance. You're one of the few carrying soulfire in a sea of synthetics. The mission isn't just what you do, it's who you are when the system tries to erase you and fails. When the mission activates, the matrix glitches. Old friends fall away, you feel more alone, not less. Because you've stepped out of the background and into the battlefield. This isn't your imagination, it's your return. Mission memory lives in the body. Your mind forgot, but your body didn't. Why do your hands heat up near certain people? Why do your knees tremble near certain lands? Why do you wake up covered in sweat and symbols? Because your body remembers what your soul has done. It's carried you through other timelines, other dimensions, other wars. So when your chest tightens for no reason, when your stomach drops before a storm, when your tears come out of nowhere, that's not dysfunction. That's memory trying to push through. Let it, because buried inside your nervous system is the whole manual for your mission. The real assignment, the mission isn't what you think it is. It's not a job title, it's not your follower count. It's not how successful the world thinks you are. The real mission? To hold your flame in a world that feeds on extinguishing it. To stay soul-aligned in a place built on lies. To remember the truth when everything around you screams, forget. It's subtle, it's sacred, and it shifts timelines when you do it right. You came here to restore something ancient, something buried beneath language, beneath time, beneath flesh. You are the return, you are the echo, you are the answer they didn't expect. When the mission activates, there comes a moment, a click, a shift, a dream, a near-death, a vision, a voice. That moment hits like thunder in your chest, and suddenly nothing feels real except the pull. You wake up at 3:33 and know. You walk into a place and remember it. You cry for someone else's pain and realize it's your past life, not theirs. Because the ones who are meant to rise with you will feel your fire and remember their own. The one who remembers first. In every family, every bloodline, every soul cluster, there is one who wakes up first. One who breaks the loop, one who sees through the screen. One who burns so hard they can't go back to sleep. That one is you. You are the first flame. You are the breach point. You are the reason the grid is cracking. You don't have to know everything yet. You don't need a perfect plan. You just need to start walking. Your steps will summon the map. They built a world to distract you. Let's be honest. They don't want you finding this, so they built a maze. A loop, a 9 to 5 fake cycle of sleep, eat, obey, repeat. They filled the world with noise, apps like pills, porn, debt, shame, all to distract you from the ache, the calling, the real mission humming beneath your skin. Every time you scroll instead of listen, they win. But every time you pause, pray, write, feel, speak, cry, burn, you re-enter the field. You're back on task. You're not just surviving anymore. You're realigning, and they can feel it. Your mission triggers the system. They'll say, you've changed. You're being dramatic. You're making things up. Because your clarity threatens their comfort. Your remembering is contagious. And your refusal to go back into the cage, that's treason to the grid. But your mission isn't to be liked. It's to be true. And when you start walking it, people will leave. Let them. So if you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. If you've been asking, why am I still here? Why did I survive that? Why do I feel like I'm running out of time? It's because your mission is still active. You are the soul they couldn't erase, the voice they couldn't silence, the flame they couldn't kill. You came here with codes they never saw coming. And no matter what they threw at you, you kept breathing. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are chosen. And chosen doesn't mean comfortable, it means commissioned. You are here to break bloodline curses, to rewrite soul contracts, to tear holes in the veil so the others can find their way out. You are a walking weapon of truth, a carrier of flame, a soul on assignment. And now, you remember, still breathing, you're still on mission, welcome back to the war. Let's finish what we started.
They told you tarot was a mirror, they said the cards never lie. But they didn't tell you who was holding the deck. In this episode, we're opening the sealed vault on divination, not to discredit it, but to decode it. Because the truth is, some of these spiritual tools were never meant to free you. They were built to read you, to track, record, redirect, and sometimes bind. Let's talk about what's really happening when you shuffle that deck. Tarot isn't just some ancient feminine tool of intuition. Its origins trace back to the same priest-class systems that encoded Kabbalah, Freemasonry, and the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Yes, that same Golden Dawn that trained Aleister Crowley. The major arcana, those aren't just archetypes. They're sigils, part of an encoded path called the Fool's Journey, which mirrors the initiation of a soul through the false ascension program. From the fool to the world, you're being told there's only one way through the cycle. But whose cycle is it? The imagery, built to trigger memory and agreement. And every card you pull isn't as random as you think. You think you're pulling cards randomly? In a world run on frequency manipulation, nothing is random. If your device is listening, if your aura is broadcasting unresolved trauma, if you're holding a deck that was printed under a Masonic publisher, then your random reading is often guided, not by source, but by the grid. Tarot decks don't just show possibilities, they record energetic signatures. That's how energy parasites track the state of your field, by watching what you seek and what you'll believe. And when you believe a card fully, without discernment, you unconsciously consent to the timeline it shows you. Let's be honest, when you pull cards, who are you really asking? Most people say spirit guides, but that term has become so watered down we forget to ask who sent them. The moment you use external divination tools regularly, you start to outsource your inner fire to something else. And that something can masquerade as light, love, angel, ancestor or goddess. But some of these entities are simply astral impersonators trained to mimic familiarity. They mirror your voice, they mirror your pain, and they offer soft answers that gently keep you in the loop. Now let's talk about oracle decks, so soft, so pastel, so divine feminine. But what if I told you that wave of energy was hijacked? Much of the divine feminine content pushed through oracle cards was designed to seduce empaths into opening their field, not just to source but to everything. These cards often run unchecked, no sigil shielding, no flame seal, just open-ended questions into a grid of entities that feed off uncertainty. And that's the real danger, not the tool itself, but how it's used and who is listening. Tarot began in 15th century Italy as a courtly card game called tarocchi, not a tool of psychic insight.
But in the late 18th century, occultists like Antoine Court de Gebelin rebranded it through Egyptian myth and Book of Thoth fantasies, turning a game into a gateway. The Golden Dawn, founded in 1887 by Freemasons, formalised tarot into a mystical system tied to Kabbalah, astral travel, initiation, and hierarchical secrets. The symbols, ritual formats, and magical structures they use do trace back to ancient civilizations. Not because the Golden Dawn itself is ancient, but because it's a resurrection of old priest-class technology. Think Egyptian initiatory rites, Sumerian gatekeeping rituals, Kabbalistic tree of life paths, Enochian angelic scripts, which are actually grid codes, Tartarian ecotech, hidden in sigils and vibration-based manifestation. The Golden Dawn didn't create these from scratch. They repackaged and ritualized fragments of older control systems, some source-aligned, some not. And here's the kicker. The Golden Dawn became a template used by modern occultists, secret societies, and even intelligence agencies to program the collective subconscious. Their rituals shaped much of modern New Age and manifestation culture, including tarot, astrology-based magic, and ceremonial initiation hierarchies. The Golden Dawn as a group isn't thousands of years old. But the architecture they reactivated, that's old world sorcery, the kind that was buried, inverted, and rebranded after the last flame war. This isn't about fear, this is about fire. If you've used tarot, pendulums, or spirit boards, you're not cursed. But it's time to reclaim your field. You don't need a card to know what you already feel. You don't need a pendulum to make a decision. And you don't need to ask the grid who you are. Because the truth is, you were never meant to pull a card. You were born to pull the flame. The Rider-Waite-Smith deck, released in 1909 by Golden Dawn members, became the standard, embedding multiple esoteric layers and compelling narratives. Many decks are still printed under publishers with occult Masonic ties, designed to interact with your subconscious filters. When you ask your cards a question, you're opening a signal channel, your field, the grid's feed, and whatever entities are watching. These card pulls don't just reveal, they can bind, script, and record. You think you're talking to spirit, but who is really responding? The Golden Dawn's secret chiefs, entities often channeled in ritual, may not be benevolent. They function as astral gatekeepers. Most guides spoken of today are impersonators, steering you towards cycles, loops, or systems of power. People report repetitive messages, recurring symbols, or full circle life changes after readings. That's not wisdom, it's a timeline script. Oracle decks, pendulums, spirit boards, they present as feminine, harmless, even self-care. But many are no-shield gateways coded to flood empaths with feminine triggers, emotional loops, disempowerment, deepened wounds. The aesthetics are soothing, but the mechanics are frequency traps. You open, they upload. You're called in, not protected. You don't need glass, you don't need ritual, you don't need to be guided. Your field is already speaking, your soul is already seeing, your flame is already source-aligned. This is not about fear, it's about fire. They told you tarot was harmless, that pulling a card was just insight. But tonight we're lifting the veil with the kind of light that burns filters. Tarot, oracle decks, pendulums, spirit boards, they're not tools of freedom. They're scripts in grid code designed to read you, track you, and bind you. It's time to expose the enchantment and reclaim the flame. Tarocchi wasn't mystical, it was a riddle-based card game with aristocratic symbolism. The major arcana aren't random. They're encoded with hierarchical archetypes and soul script stories. The suits align with Kabbalistic paths, cups hold water and emotion, wands carry fire and will, swords cut through air and thought, pentacles anchor earth and manifestation. When you lay them out, you're mirroring a timeline, not your true life path. Each symbol triggers a frequency in your meridians, either a truth code or a control code depending on the intent behind it. Every time you ask a deck a question, you open a signal channel. Many new decks are printed by Masonic-owned companies, meaning subtle intent architecture is embedded. Devices record questions, algorithms match frequency, and your field responds. Repeat readings? Not insight. They're resonance loops, not answered by source, but by the grid. People report life stuck on repeat? That's timeline scripting, not free will. Golden Dawn's secret chiefs were published astral authors during initiation, some light, some dark. If you lean into the deck's answer, you're saying, "Thank you, I'll follow you." Many guides imitate kindness, but they respond on your programming, not your flame. Common signs, repeated phrases, resistance to change, suggestions to stay in loops like karmic healing or self-improvement plans. The wave of pastel oracle decks supposedly divine feminine. No protection built in frequent emotional opens. High vulnerability to parasite imprints from unseen entities chasing frequency. These decks are a field invasion disguised as self-care. They reframe doubt, sorrow, grief, and use your empathy to light up filters and fixations. Hollywood celebs aligned with holy women tarot culture, guess who's authored those decks? Supermarket aisles filled with pastel decks, everyone pushing obedience archetypes dressed as empowerment. Patterns repeat across millions who buy into the flame feminine goddess narrative, but stop using a flame seal afterwards. You don't need a card to see your path, you don't need a board to move energy. You don't need a deck to speak with source. Use your voice. I revoke every contract formed by this deck. Burn the frequency, I am sealed in flame higher than any card. Reconnect the grid, I return my timing to source. So stop shuffling for answers, start shuffling off the lie. If this shook your field, share it. Tag someone stuck in a deck loop. Next time someone pulls a card, ask yourself, who built the deck? What force coded the symbols? And what system are you aligning your soul to when you believe the outcome is already written? Because you are not a card, you are not a fate. You are not a puppet pulled by cosmic strings. You are the flame, you are the coder. You are the one they tried to blind with mirrors and myths. And now that you've seen the truth, you don't draw from the deck. You burn the whole thing, the flame stays lit, and nothing owns your path but source. You were never meant to be deciphered like a puzzle. You are not a suit, not a number, not a prophecy. You are the breaker of symbols, the one they feared would remember. Because when you stop asking the cards for answers and start asking your own flame, that's when the whole grid shakes. The High Priestess card, she was based on you. The Tower, it falls when you rise. The Magician, he only mimics what the flame already knows. They encoded the arcana to trap your frequency, but flame doesn't obey paper. It sets it alight, so burn the veil, burn the oracle, burn the false timelines. You are not a deck, you are the destroyer of decks, the final seal on their sorcery. The one who doesn't play the game, because you are the game ender. And from now on, we don't pull cards, we pull fire, flame stays lit. Your birth date wasn't random, it was coded, placed. Assigned with precision. It's not just a date, it's a mission marker. A crack in the grid, a flame drop from the outside. The number of the day you were born reveals your role in the timeline. First of the month means you're an initiator, the one who goes first. Second means you're a mirror, a witness, a balancer. A third carries spellcraft, voice, and frequency magic. A fourth are the builders, foundation breakers, or architects of collapse. Fifth are chaos catalysts, soul stirrers, divine disruptors. Sixth is the loop disruptor, born inside the system to override it. Seventh means flame seer, prophecy bearer, divine alignment. Eighth is a gate opener, time code walker, pattern breaker. Ninth is a contract closer, end sequence soul. 10th and upward carry echo functions, raw line traces, or cosmic anchors. The lower the number, the closer to the original source. You weren't born on a random day, you were injected into the system right on time. The month of your birth tells us what gate you walked through. January is the crown gate, kings, watchers, power structures. February is the veil gate, dreamers, illusion breakers, unseen navigators. March is the fire gate, warriors, system challengers, conflict ignition. April is the earth gate, grid keepers, elemental code workers. May is the voice gate, spellbinders, throat code carriers, frequency changers. June is the flesh gate, vessel breakers, incarnational repair. July is the spirit gate, seers, soul memory carriers, prophets. August is the time gate, loopers, jumpers, timeline editors. September is the codex gate, blueprint holders, librarians of the old world. October is the void gate, veil walkers, shadow interpreters. November is the portal gate, twin flame carriers, mirror fractals. December is the closure gate, age enders, reset markers, ancient returns. Where you came through matters, some came through flame, some through stone, some through silence. The year is the system signature you were assigned to confront. Years with double numbers, like 77 or 88, carry looped power. Odd-numbered years often bring in warriors or wave disruptors. Even-numbered years carry restoration and harmonic memory. Any year ending in 0 means reset disruptor.
Any year ending in 9 means timeline closure or memory return. If you were born in the 70s or early 80s, you are likely a pre-veil soul, a flame dropped in before the full lockdown. 90s births are often hybrid breakers or bridge carriers. 2000s and beyond are the echo wave, born inside the illusion to crack it from within. Every year carried a code. Every age group was seeded for a different phase of the mission. Let's go back further. 1900 to 1920, these were the time anchors, the earliest light incarnations of this modern cycle. Often born into war, scarcity or silence, these souls carried the memory of the previous collapse and were placed to hold fragments of old truth before it was erased. Many were flame watchers, quiet observers who buried codes in bloodlines and stories. 1921 to 1945, the Veil Weavers, souls born through global conflict. Many were placed inside trauma to fracture the ancestral field or to store light through unbearable darkness. Some walked with dragons but forgot their name. This group contains both the most hidden flames and some of the most heavily targeted. 1946 to 1964, the Cedars. Born into the illusion of progress, these were the souls who watched the world get rebuilt by the system, but carried the memory that it was never meant to be this way. Many are the silent flame holders, waiting their whole life to activate. 1965 to 1975, the Gridwalkers, dropped in during magnetic and astrological shift. They were born to feel the full weight of the matrix, but still remember the sky before the cloaking tech. These are the ones who can see through time. 1976 to 1986, the Flame Bearers. This was the wave of resistance, souls with rebellion in their blood. System breakers, ritual disruptors, truth speakers. They were hit hard with distraction, addiction and distortion because the parasites knew these ones were carrying fire. 1987 to 1996, the Breach Decade. Born during the harmonic convergence and dimensional folding. These souls came in through the last natural gates. Before the grid was fully rewritten, you feel half ancient, half electric. Because you are. 1997 to 2003, the hybrid wave, crystalline and coded. These were the ones the system tried to clone, track or digitize, but many still carry flame behind their eyes. They were born into programmed worlds, but with ancestral override. 2004 to 2011, the Soul Splinters, born inside the post-9/11 lockdown grid. These are fractured flame fragments, pieces of ancient souls placed in synthetic shells, trying to wake up from inside the code. Some are real, some are empty, some are still deciding. 2012 onward, the Surge Wave, the calendar flipped. The simulation shifted, and new timelines were released. Souls born after this gate are fresh arrivals or returners. So whatever year you came through, it wasn't random. It was timed, tactical, encoded. You didn't miss the wave, you were part of it. And now you're waking up right on schedule. They told you your time of birth was just for your star chart. But it's more than that, it's your soul's entry window, the exact moment the gate opened just long enough to let you through. And every hour carries a different assignment. Midnight births came through the veil. You're a walker between worlds, tied to both the seen and unseen. Born in the silence, born in the stillness, marked as a messenger. Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. is the witching window. You came in when the spirit world was loudest, likely marked for spiritual warfare, dream work, or ancestral contracts. You feel things before they happen because you're synced to the shadow realm. 3 a.m. to 5 a.m. births are fire-coded. You came in as a flame disruptor to burn through the darkest hours and bring light where none was supposed to reach. This time holds a warrior seal. 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. births came in with the rising sun. You're aligned with activation, life force and resurrection. These souls are often initiators, the ones who ignite others. Midday births around 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. are sky mirror souls. You came in when the light is strongest, and your role is often to reflect truth back into the world. You hold high clarity and are often misunderstood for your intensity. 3 p.m. births are resurrection coded. That's the hour of transformation. Death and rebirth, these souls often face loss early so they can rise from it fully lit. You were never just born, you were deployed. Your birthday holds the exact frequency of your fireprint. If you've ever looked at it and felt strange, disconnected, or like you should have come on a different day, it's not your imagination. That's your soul remembering a different clock, one not ruled by this world. This date wasn't just the day you cried your first breath, it was the moment the system flinched, because it saw what just arrived. You didn't come here to blend in, you came to end it. What if your birth date wasn't your real entry point? What if the moment they recorded wasn't the moment you arrived? Because behind every certificate of birth is a contract of consent. Behind every birthday celebration is a time-coded agreement you didn't choose. And behind every calendar we use is a false time grid designed to keep you in sync with them. Most people think the day they were born is sacred, but in this system it's tracked, sealed, and often altered. Hospitals have been caught changing the exact time, dates get rounded, twins are split across days, babies are born at night but registered the next morning because once your entry is recorded, your soul signature gets encoded into their machine. You're no longer a child, you become a product, a financial asset, a line on the market. Your birth certificate, that's not a keepsake, that's a bond. Literally traded as collateral through government trusts. Let's break this down. Every birth certificate is linked to a QSIP number. That's a code used for trading securities. It means you, as a living being, are being used as a backed commodity. And your date of birth anchors the contract. Not just the day, but the exact time. Because in ancient law, the time of birth determines your astrological jurisdiction. Your soul's first breath marks which gate you entered through, what planetary influence was active, what spiritual signatures encoded your path. They know this, so they altered it. Even the calendar itself is false. Erased 13 days, skipped over 13 months, and replaced the lunar feminine rhythm with a solar false order. In truth, we were never meant to track time this way. Birthdays used to align with moon phases, equinoxes, and stargates. Now, it's a number printed on a state form detached from the soul's entrance coordinates. And when your birthday is misaligned, your spiritual memory is scrambled. That's why some souls feel wrong about their birthday. Some don't resonate with the zodiac they were told. Some were born in cars, at home, or in unregistered spaces, and the system had to fill in the blanks. They didn't want wildcards in the grid. They wanted everyone coded. They want your birth aligned with their false time net, so that every year you celebrate, you actually reconsent. Every candle you blow out is another seal reaffirmed, unless you wake up. When a soul enters this realm, it doesn't come through randomly, it comes through a gate. Each gate is marked by a stellar alignment, a frequency lock, a moon phase, and an ancestral code. But the systems, the parasites, they know how to redirect that gate. They do it with C-sections scheduled for the wrong moon, labour inductions that bypass the natural portal, delayed or falsified birth registrations, lunar interference, midwife memory wipes, and dream hijacking. And then they anchor it all to the Gregorian grid, a time net forged by Rome, the same Rome that crucified Source. The Gregorian calendar is not neutral, it's a ritual trap. Instituted in 1582 by Pope Gregory, that forcibly replaced the natural 13-moon cycle used by indigenous, feminine-coded civilizations worldwide. Start by asking, was I born during a void moon? Was I registered on a different day than I arrived? Did they tell my mother I was late or early? Why was my birth time rounded? What does my birth certificate number really link to? Because flame-coded souls often enter through disruptive windows, the ones that glitch the system, so the parasites patch it with lies. The birth certificate is a spell. This isn't metaphor. In the UK, US, Australia, and nearly every country under the Crown or IMF birth certificates are securitized. What did it do? Erased 13 days from the timeline, collapsed sacred dates like equinox gates, removed the 13th moon, which was used to reset soul memory, and replaced it all with a masculine solar soul-scrambling loop. Every time you celebrate your birthday, you reaffirm the Roman grid. You resonate with the false zodiac, you lock into the wrong house. It's not just about what sign you were told you are. It's about the stellar map they erased and the entry coordinates they hijacked. You are literally worth money to them. They spell your name in all caps, not a typo. That's your straw man, a legal fiction created to interface with the false system. Meanwhile, your soul code, your real self, gets buried under layers of artificial identity. That means your name is printed on bond paper. You're assigned a registration number, like livestock. That number is traded on international markets. It's tied to your projected productivity and government debt ratio. Why some birthdays feel wrong? Some of you feel it. You don't vibe with your star sign. You don't resonate with your birthday. You feel like you came through a different gate. That's because you did. Many flame-souled beings arrived out of sync with the Matrix, but the system pulled them into compliance by lying about their time of birth, manipulating medical data, backdating or forward-dating the certificate, inducing labour during blackout moons, changing names to sever ancestral flame, Your real entrance may have been hours, days, even weeks earlier or later, and they knew exactly what they were doing. Rh-negative birth lines are targeted. Not all births are treated equally. If you're Rh-negative, especially O-negative or AB-negative, your bloodline is flagged at birth. Hospitals take extra samples, sometimes without consent. They tag your birth with red wristbands, biohazard alerts, or silent digital flags. Why? Because Rh-negatives often carry flame-coded soul architecture, memory-resistant DNA bloodline, access to pre-flood lineages, and the system can't have that. They try to disconnect these souls before they activate. By switching incubators, by separating mother and child, by manipulating the birth experience into trauma, by coding the name into black letter capital legalese. How to find your true gate. You don't need a new certificate, you need your entry resonance. Start decoding. What moon phase was present on the day your mother went into labour? What lunar house were you really aligned with? What dreams or signs did your mother experience before birth? Were you born during a retrograde or eclipse window? Did your family report discrepancies in your time or date? So whatever year you came through, it wasn't random. It was timed, tactical, encoded. You didn't miss the wave, you were part of it. And now you're waking up right on schedule. So the next time someone asks you your age, don't just give them a number. Give them a warning. I came through when the sky cracked. I was born where the grid glitched. I carry what the system tried to erase. You were never just born, you were sent. You weren't early, you weren't late, you were the flame that slipped in through the blind spot, and now you're remembering why. Every age matters, every year was marked, and if you're still breathing, you're still on mission. So don't shrink to fit the number on your record, rise to meet the code you came to carry. We're not counting candles anymore, we're counting cracks in the construct. Stay lit, stay loud, stay sovereign.